NACSHAR Part 1, Fertility, Mortality, and Migration in Population Projections. Introduction to Population Projections. Population projections are statistical tools used to predict the future size, composition, and characteristics of a population based on current and historical trends in fertility, mortality, and migration. These projections are essential for understanding demographic patterns, planning resources, and framing policies. Several scholars and organizations, like the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, have defined population projection methods, each emphasizing the importance of birth, death, and migration rates. Key variables in population projection. The three primary demographic variables, fertility, mortality, and migration, are central to calculating and forecasting population dynamics. Let us delve into each of these. 1. Fertility and its role in population projection. Definition of fertility. Fertility refers to the actual reproductive performance of a population. It is often expressed using measures like the total fertility rate, TFR, which indicates the average number of children a woman is expected to have during her lifetime. Impact on population size. High fertility rates result in a rapid increase in population size, particularly in regions with low contraceptive use and high unmet family planning needs. In contrast, low fertility rates, as observed in many developed nations, lead to a stagnant or shrinking population. Trends in fertility. Nations like Bangladesh have seen a dramatic reduction in TFR due to effective family planning initiatives. On the other hand, countries like Japan and China are struggling with ultra-low fertility rates, prompting policies that encourage childbirth. Projections based on fertility. Projections rely on scenarios, such as high, medium, or low fertility rates, to estimate future growth. For instance, if fertility remains at its current level, the population may grow faster. However, a drop may stabilize or decline population sizes. Mortality and its role in population projection. Definition of mortality. Mortality refers to the frequency of deaths in a population, often measured by the crude death rate, CDR, or life expectancy. Impact on population dynamics. Low mortality rates, especially in regions with better healthcare, result in longer life expectancies, increasing the older age population. High mortality rates, on the other hand, result in population shrinkage or slower growth. Recent trends in mortality. Advances in healthcare and technology have led to declining mortality rates globally. Bangladesh, for instance, has significantly reduced infant and maternal mortality rates in the past decades, while nations with aging populations face increased mortality rates among the elderly. Projections based on mortality. Mortality projections are particularly important in predicting the aging of populations. Regions with low mortality and high longevity are likely to experience economic strain as the proportion of non-working older people rises. Population projection techniques, one-direct methods. These include extrapolation techniques where historical demographic trends, fertility, mortality, and migration, are extended into the future to predict population dynamics. 2. Indirect methods. Indirect techniques integrate other socioeconomic and political indicators, e.g., income levels, healthcare access, and urbanization, to forecast population changes. Definitions in context. V.C. Singh and E. Zachariah's perspective. They emphasize that population projections are calculated estimates based on existing data and the application of the latest methodologies. United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. UNFPA highlights that projections rely solely on demographic trends and assumptions about fertility, mortality, and migration. H.F. Dorn and P.E. Jopf. Both scholars underscore the importance of understanding how present population structures evolve based on demographic trends over time. The interplay between fertility and mortality shapes the foundational demographic equation. Migration, discussed in the next section, complements these variables by determining the inflow and outflow of populations. This three-factor approach enables governments to project future needs, address challenges, and optimize growth. To begin, METARF Part 2, Migration and Case Studies Across Regions in Population Projections. Role of migration in population projection. Migration refers to the movement of people from one place to another, which directly impacts population size and composition. Unlike fertility and mortality, Migration often occurs due to external, economic, or social factors rather than biological ones. It plays a pivotal role in altering population structures, particularly in urban and rural regions, and in shaping demographic transitions across countries. Migration and its types. Internal migration. This includes movements within a country, such as people shifting from rural to urban areas for better employment opportunities or returning from cities to villages for personal reasons. Examples in Bangladesh include rural to urban migration towards cities like Dhaka. International migration. Cross-border movements significantly impact national population trends. Countries experiencing emigration may face population loss, while those receiving immigrants see population growth. For instance, developed nations like the United States and Canada rely heavily on migration to offset declining birth rates and aging populations. Impact of migration on population dynamics. Demographic balancing. Migration often balances population declines in nations with low fertility rates. For instance, while Japan struggles with population decline, increased immigration could stabilize its population. Age structure. Migration usually involves younger working-age people, which revitalizes a region's labor force and economic activities. Brain drain and remittances. Countries like Bangladesh see skilled workers migrating abroad. Brain drain. However, international migration also boosts the economy through remittances. Projections based on migration. Population projections estimate future migration trends using socioeconomic data and international relations. For example, migration restrictions in some countries could reduce inflows, while conflict or climate change could lead to mass displacements. Case studies across regions. 1. Bangladesh. Fertility has seen a steady decline, leading to population stabilization. In the 1980s, the total fertility rate, TFR, was above 6.0, but it has now dropped to around 2.1 due to effective family planning programs. Mortality rates have significantly decreased due to advances in healthcare and vaccination programs, leading to an increase in life expectancy. Migration is driven by economic motives, with millions of workers traveling abroad, particularly to the Middle East, contributing to remittances that boost the economy. 2. Japan. Japan is dealing with ultra-low fertility rates, below 1.5, and high mortality due to an aging population, leading to natural population decline. Migration has historically been restricted in Japan. Recent policy changes allow for increased immigration to address labor shortages, but the population continues to shrink. Population projections for Japan predict a steep decline from approximately 126 million in 2020 to 88 million by 2065. 3. China. China's fertility rates dropped sharply following the one-child policy, but have failed to rebound even after its relaxation. Projections indicate significant aging in the population. Mortality rates are under control due to advanced healthcare, but the aging population poses challenges. Migration mainly involves rural to urban movements as people seek better employment in megacities. International migration into China is minimal compared to its neighboring countries. Star 4. Comparison with Bangladesh. Unlike Japan and China, Bangladesh has maintained a balanced fertility rate through targeted initiatives. While aging is a challenge in developed countries, Bangladesh still benefits from a younger population, contributing to its labor force. Migration trends in Bangladesh are economically motivated, and remittance flows help stabilize its economy. By contrast, Japan and China face labor shortages, highlighting the significance of balanced migration policies. Conclusion. Fertility, mortality, and migration together shape the dynamics of population projections. Comparing Bangladesh to countries like Japan and China shows how demographic variables influence long-term growth and economic stability. Migration plays a decisive role in mitigating the challenges posed by fertility and mortality trends, reinforcing the need for thoughtful planning and policies to address these changes. Population projections act as vital tools to anticipate these changes and prepare for future demographic realities.